Hey, welcome back to another episode of What Elon Said. Today is March 10th. We have a little feel of spring in the air here today. Today, Elon was not too busy, but he did have an interesting comment to start today. Jump right in to a post that said, these four tech companies have almost as much cash, 589 billion, as Russia stashed away for war. The entire country, 630 billion. And you can see there's four companies here: Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Amazon, the four mega companies in tech in the US. And they have an enormous amount of cash. Apple has over $200 billion just in cash. That's not considering everything else they have. And Elon's response to this was, wow.
Wow.
Amazing. I don't know how much Tesla has, but I know Tesla does invest in an inordinate amount in research and development, as do the other four companies.
Yeah.
But this leads to, makes you wonder what his wow is. Just fascinating over that fact, how rich they are compared to an entire country, which is a massive country, or that something should be done about this. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's hard to read. No punctuation or anything. It just seems like he might be blown away by the statistic.
Yes. And that anyone who reads it makes you think, how should this be better allocated? I know that most of these companies, their response is more investment, which they do, but also a lot of stock buybacks, a lot of some of them dividends, and otherwise they just keep their cash hoards, keep themselves nimble. But it seems excessive. Definitely 202 billion.
Some critical feedback in the comments about cash stashing, that approach of companies.
Yes.
But I don't think he's much of a fan of dividends or buybacks, at least not at this point. I think he said that that's the beginning of the end for a company. So yes. I don't know, maybe he's just looking at it like, wow, okay, those are the numbers I need to get above, right?
That's right. Aspirational.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Let's go next. We have Eva Fox with a Tasmanian article about the projects working at Tesla speed, which was a quote from a German official in the Green Party, I think, yesterday, that we covered yesterday. And Elon responded and says, it's very important that there be an organization tasked with regulation removal, or the number of rules will grow every year until progress is completely buried by bureaucracy. So expressing some frustration about his experience there in Germany with the factory, the pace that they've moved. And he's mentioned this before, just about how rules need to be checked every now and again and taken off the books, or else we will just die, our society will die of stagnation from rules.
Yeah. And I think he's, responding, I think he's appreciative that they're doing it, but he's saying, everything you do in Germany is you get in your own way. You try to do something right, and it's 3 steps making it worse or wrong. So I definitely agree with you. And he's a good point there.
And just reiterating his messages, which he tends to do. That's one of them. All right, so we're back to Shackleton's ship.
Yes, Shackleton's ship. So we mentioned this yesterday a little bit, but here's the actual ad that someone posted in the paper for his newspaper ad that you mentioned, Kevin. That men are wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return is doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success. And then it just gives Ernest Shackleton in his street address. But it's such an interesting ad. It's so small, but he got them, and it's basically, Elon responded. I have a comment on it after, but Elon responded, there is no direct evidence of this ad being run, but that does sum up the sales pitch. It is mind-blowing that he and his crew rode to a whaling station from the Antarctic. So he's just blown away by the story. But this really does feel like the ad that Elon would post in a way on Twitter for volunteers eventually for the mega Mars mission.
Yeah.
when he says 100 ships will go on like the second run.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe the first ad will be like that, but then by like ad 2 or 3 of going back to Mars, it'll be bots wanted. And
Yes.
he will just supply the bots. Like,
That's it.
or bot maintenance wanted to keep Mars
Yes.
running. But yeah,
And if
he
you
seems to be endlessly fascinated with this story. It's pretty cool.
it is fascinating. If no one has read it, there's an excellent book that came out a couple months ago on Shackleton that I highly recommend.
Really?
On the journey.
Yeah, and we'll put the link to the article that was listed there from BBC in the description.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, cool. So next up, we got a cool graphic here from Pranay Pathole stating that the capability of Starship is mind-blowing, and it shows the Space Shuttle, Falcon Heavy, Saturn V, SLS Block 1, and then Starship on a scale here with max payloads listed. Some interesting numbers, 907 kilograms in a ton. And so Elon is referencing tons below. He's saying that optimized, because I don't think he's very happy with these numbers, because it doesn't look like Starship's really that much of a improvement. And he's saying optimized, fully reusable Starship is about 150 tons to the same reference orbit as Saturn V. And in expendable mode, Starship payload would be 250 tons to 300 tons. So saying we had to make some sacrifices because unlike these rockets, ours will be reusable. So not exactly apples to apples here.
Yep. That's definitely true. It's I don't think they will ever use a fully expendable mode. That goes against the whole mantra of Starship. But he is saying if you really compared apples to apples of how they're used, then that would be the case. So he's saying 150, we are larger than any of them, plus we can return all components.
Right. And I haven't looked down at the comments under this one, but I bet there's a lot of space talk going on.
I'm sure.
A lot of questioning of numbers or fact checking or people giving their opinion about it.
Cop V or whatever it was before.
Yeah. We'll get to Cop V here in a second. But... All right.
So we have from Michele Fedoro. This is the digital. I totally massacred his name, but he is the digital.
Isn't he the vice prime minister?
Yes, he's vice prime minister of digital transformation of
right.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
So this is just thanking that they had a second shipment of Starlink stations that came in. Very appreciative. Look at this huge hall that they have. They'll distribute it around the country during the war so they can communicate with each other and the world. Elon said, "You're welcome." We have also sent power adapters for car cigarette lighters, solar battery packs, and generators for places where electricity is not available. So, which, that is definitely very innovative that they're allowing it to be used in cars now. That was a quick update by Starlink that they did within a day or two. In addition, they're really just making sure, assuming people don't have electricity, that they could use Starlink. So Starlink and SpaceX is on top of it across the board.
Yeah, it's all seeming positive. I really do hope that this is helpful for the people there. It definitely seems that they need to keep the communication and keep the publicity about the wrongdoings happening there.
Yes.
So I really hope that this can be helpful in resolving this situation for the better.
Absolutely.
All right, here's our Cop V comment. We have a lot of, let's see, technical rocket engineering talk going on here. So Everyday Astronaut, great follow. He did a series of interviews with Elon at the SpaceX Starbase. And he's just throwing it out there. Anyone out there have a trade-off chart between tank pressure and tank weight for Cop Vs? What is Cop V again?
It was like the pressure on the tank, the fuel tank, in some way of how the pressure can be optimized.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's just asking some technical questions and wondering if anyone has any charts or numbers here. And I won't go into the details, but basically Elon responds with a very technical answer and says that in our experience, Cop V gain to pain flattens out above 6,000 PSI and is less than 1 above 10,000 psi unless volume constrained like Dragon. Heating from pressurization and cooling from depressurization also become major problems at very high pressure. So I have no idea what that means. Not a rocket scientist myself, but it is, I guess, comforting that Elon knows so much about rocket science, being that he's running SpaceX. And
I agree, and take the time to respond. And then, of course, we get the usual FSD beta update from whole
yeah, you can always count
catalog.
You can always count on whole Mars catalog to ask a random unassociated question to Elon.
Yes, and Elon always answers this weekend or so. I think he just posts this weekend all the time, but he always answers him. But I also like how every astronaut called out. He's trying to get an answer from Cop Sub. So if someone has a Twitter handle just about Cop V.
Yeah, I gotta check that one out. I need to brush up on my rocket science.
Yes,
and get to that this weekend. All right. Well, should we wrap it up there, and then we'll go over the likes?
That sounds good.
Second episode sounds good. Well, we'll talk to you then. Thanks a lot.
Bye.